Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Hector Montalvo. Joining us today at our MCTV studios, three gentlemen who need no introduction. First, let me introduce, from politically active, George Scione, Jamie Atkinson, and from the Lawrence Eagle Tribune reporter, JJ Huggins. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, you just went up to 167 on your votes.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we just got over the election. On November 2nd, the country sent a message that they were tired of the status quo. They voted for change. Why do you think Massachusetts stayed with the status quo and reelected everyone who's in office now?
I think it's because it's been so long that Massachusetts has been a Democratic state. They're not ready yet to change over to be either independent or Republican state.
So do you see that independents don't really have a chance as far as elections?
No, I think that chance is getting bigger and bigger. It just hasn't gotten to that point yet in Massachusetts anyway. We saw throughout the country where the Republicans have more seats in office now, as many seats in office now as they've had since 1923 or 1928. So you definitely see a change there throughout the nation, but not yet in Massachusetts. But I think it's getting to that.
I think you're somewhat right, but I think it is harder for independents, nationwide. I mean, yeah, Republicans gained, but how many independent candidates do you see elected to office across the country? There's really not that many. It's tough with the two-party system as it is. I mean, it's really tough to crack that as an independent because you're going to take from one side or the other, and then that other candidate on the side that you don't take from is most likely going to win. So it's really hard for an independent to make any kind of head waves into an office.
So if a person comes in and he wants to run for office and they have little or basically no money, do you think we will ever see those particular people have an opportunity, a chance to even hold an elected office?
Maybe in one of the smaller races, like a citywide race, but I don't think you'll see that in a statewide race. Without any money, I think you're basically doomed.
Yeah, you definitely need to get your name out there and across and everything else. Now, in Methuen, 13,000 out of 45,000 residents came out to vote. With only 13,000 voters coming out, are we in trouble? Are the people basically giving up?
I think JJ will probably be able to answer this question better, but I think the 13,000 that did come out and vote is a higher number than it's been in many years. Right. Is that right, JJ? I mean,
yes, yeah. The turnout was actually pretty high amongst registered voters. So I think Methuen should be pretty happy with the voter turnout, but I mean, why they don't have 90 to 100% turnout for every election is beyond me. Why people don't get involved and exercise their right to vote, something I don't understand. But typically, this past election did have pretty good voter turnout.
All over.
Yeah, they did. Now, does it send a message? Maybe people are not engaged. How do people get involved within government? What should the candidates be doing?
I look at it the other way because the point that JJ just made, I think more people are engaged because the numbers did increase. Now, they may not be, like JJ said, the 80, 90%, but what are they, between 42 and 52%, I believe was in Methuen. Yeah. So I think they are more engaged, and I think you're seeing a trend spiking upwards as opposed to downwards. And that's a good thing. I just don't think it can be built with one election.
Now, one of the changes that the Commonwealth did, the voters in the Commonwealth did, was basically eliminate the double dipping of the alcohol tax. Is that an indication that the Commonwealth has more alcoholics in Massachusetts than we thought?
Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that because I was just about to say before you asked that question that I think one thing we got from this election was that we have a lot of drunk Democrats.
I'd be curious to see what time of the day the higher voter, the yes votes were higher. I mean, don't most drunk sleep in during the day?
I couldn't tell you. I don't drink, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't drink either, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
It might have been near happy hour.
We don't have happy hour, Mass, so that's
it's against the law.
Yeah.
Now, the 40B didn't pass. Why do you think it didn't pass?
That's a good question. I'm guessing if you look at the trend of voters, obviously the Democrats came out more in force, and it seems like obviously they're going to, the more liberal you are, the more you're going to tend to be towards as many open opportunities for lower income housing to come into areas.
So the state is basically going to have a say as to where you can build and where you can't build?
Yeah.
So,
you know, I heard Democrats say during the campaign that they supported the repeal of that law because they wanted to come out with a better law. But I think the average Joe probably didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to that question, might not have understood it that well. It was kind of, alcohol tax is something that's easy to understand, that affects everybody, not everybody, but everybody who drinks directly. But the 40B question, if you read that and you lean to the left, you think, no, why would I want to repeal this? I like affordable housing, that's a good thing. But a lot of people who are in favor of providing affordable housing for people were in favor of repealing that law in order to come out with a better one that developers can't take advantage of.
So basically, it didn't go anywhere this time. Can it be brought back again? Or?
Oh,
Yes.
Absolutely.
It could. It could definitely be brought back.
And you didn't see the huge lobbying effort behind that question like you did with the alcohol tax.
Now, and obviously most of the money went to question 3 from the different unions across the Commonwealth, especially the teacher, the fire, the police. They all made sure they put their millions into action as far as saying no on 3.
Now, on question 3, most of the whole Merrimack Valley voted yes for question 3, with the exception of Lawrence. Why is that? Why would Lawrence vote against question 3, where everybody else in the Merrimack Valley voted for question 3?
Well, I think the reason why everyone in the Merrimack Valley, other than Lawrence, voted yes was because we're a border community, and that plays a big role. I mean, if you're going to buy a big ticket item, you're going to go across the border, go to Salem, New Hampshire. Not only are you going to buy that item, but you'll probably get your gas there, go to dinner there, and do your whatever shopping that you need to do. So I think that's why most of the cities voted yes. Why Lawrence didn't vote the same way, I can't answer that.
It's pretty simple. Lawrence gets their funding from every other community across the state.
That's true.
They're not gonna basically just take money out of their own cookie jar.
And the mayor of Lawrence was in the Dominican Republic, so he didn't have time to talk to his constituents on how to vote.
Well, and the thing is, I think they voted exactly how he would have wanted them to vote. But when you look at the Merrimack Valley itself, they voted all 3 questions were yeses. I mean, the Merrimack Valley being a border community, and obviously the cities surrounding Lawrence for question number 2, because obviously that's going to be affecting the Lawrences, Methuens, Haverhills. It's going to affect them. They seem to be up on it a little bit more than other places across the state, I think. And it was yes on 3 all 3 questions.
Well, question 3 affects them more than the other cities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the turnout should have been no on question 1, no on question 2, and yes on question 3?
Well, I don't think you can really say what it should have been. You can give your own opinion what it should have been, but I don't think you can say it should have been no, no, yes, or yes, no, yes, or whatever. I mean, it should be what it is, because that's what the people voted for.
Well, they had the 5% reduced to 5% on question 1 and eliminate the alcohol tax. And then question 3 was to reduce the sales tax back to 3%. Did that throw a confusion to voters as far as how they voted, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people probably across, not so much in the Merrimack Valley, but across the state were hesitant to roll the sales tax all the way down to 3%. And a lot of the rhetoric during the campaign from the people running for office was about rolling back to 5%. And then you get into the voting booth and the question says to 3%. I mean, yeah, the legislature could have sort of compromised and said, oh, no, we won't do 3%, but we'll do 5%. But when you're reading the question in the voting booth, it says 3%. And I mean, there was a good campaign against that, saying, look, this will take $2.5 billion out of the state.
You're going to lose your firefighters, you're going to lose your police, you're going to lose your teachers.
And as JJ says, the rhetoric during the campaign was, just about every politician was like, oh, we'd be happy with 5%. Well, it was at 5%. And obviously they weren't happy with it because it went up to 6.25.
No, we'll see how happy.
And the other thing is, it's an easy out for them. It's an easy out. The group that put this together gave all these politicians an easy out because, yeah, they all say they want to roll the taxes back to 5. These people put the thing out for rolling back to 3, and then it's an easy out for all the politicians to say, well, I would do it at 5, but not at 3.
Well, if they say
as opposed to maybe tightening their own belts in the legislature and in the state house, and saying, let's do this, let's roll it back, let's vote and roll it back to 3. But the unions aren't going to do that because then you take the money out of there, and there's a chance for layoffs, the scare tactics they use all the time.
All those politicians said they'd be happy with rolling it back to 5%. They can still do that if they want to.
Absolutely.
They can still put it on the floor and vote on it if they think that's the right thing. Let's see what happens over the next 2 to 4 years and see if that does happen, if they do roll it back to 5%. We had the governor on our radio show one time, and George asked if you were happy with the 5%. Why? No, it was Tom Murray.
Tim Murray.
We had Tim Murray on, and we're talking about the sales tax. And George said, well, if you guys are so happy, you'd be. If the people want to go to 3, go down to 3, then why do you raise it from 5 to 6.25?
Well, I know that I used the line that the legislators won't roll back your taxes, but the question 3 would. Do you believe that we will see the legislators act on the rolling back to 5%, at least now?
No.
They won't. So
no, even though they said it, they won't. And that's something that people should remember when the next election comes up.
Well, I think you will see it, but I think you'll see it right before the next election cycle, where somebody's going to stand up who wants to run for a bigger office, and they're going to try and put out a bill to roll it back to 5. And it's not going to happen until then.
Now, we know that Massachusetts voters have been ignored in the past, and basically they keep voting the same way. Is Massachusetts afraid of change? Are they afraid of reform? Are the people satisfied with higher taxes, with the same status quo? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
If you go by the way the votes were, they are satisfied with what we have right now. And what makes this country great is we have the chance to vote on it. Whether you agree or disagree, we have that opportunity. I mean, and they are satisfied right now with keeping the state as a democratic state.
I don't know if the thing is, I don't know if the majority of people are satisfied with the status quo in Massachusetts, but the majority of voters are satisfied with the entitlements they receive, and I think that's who comes out and votes.
What about casinos? Where do you think the legislators are going to pick up right where they left off? Are they going to pass casino this time around, or is that going to be a hot topic?
I think it's eventually going to pass, but the problem we have, especially like in Methuen, if it doesn't pass soon, before you know it, they're going to have one in Salem, New Hampshire at the Rockingham Park, I bet, before anywhere in Massachusetts has one.
Right.
And that's going to be too bad. That's going to, if Massachusetts would have one, it would put a lot of jobs into place and have a stream of money coming in for the state.
And I think, and let's be honest, I mean, yes, I'd love to see casinos happen in Massachusetts, whether it's one on the eastern part, one on the western part. But either way, it's not going to be up in the Merrimack Valley.
No.
So even people, whether it happens or not in Massachusetts, if it happens in New Hampshire, and I'm have a night off, I'm not going to drive south or west to go to a casino. I'm going to go to Rockingham Park anyways, if it's a full casino there as well.
I've seen you there. I was just policing to see who was there.
I was making my monthly donations to whatever charity, because I came home with nothing.
So do you think that we'll see slot machines, or you think we'll see more where more people will be able to have employment and be able to find work?
I think honestly think that the racinos, I think you might see a couple of them because they have the infrastructure to do them at certain places. But I think the big thing is they want to get the resort style casino, and I think eventually we will see a couple of them in Massachusetts. I think it's going to be something that's going to come up when everybody gets back in and they start rolling. I think it will come up pretty soon because it was so close. They were so close to getting something done, before they broke for the election cycle. And I just think it will happen. When? I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but I think it will happen within the next couple of years.
But JJ, don't you think it needs to start with one, see how it works, and then grow from there? Make sure that casino and the system they set up works.
It could. I don't think they're talking about doing a few of them in different parts. Right. So yeah, maybe if they tried one and then if it was good, expand it. A lot of that depends on private developers too, how much interest there is out there, who wants to gamble that much development money.
Right, and I honestly, for Massachusetts, it's not going to be Atlantic City or Las Vegas. I think more than one on each side of the, it's more than two overall in the state. One on each side of the state would be too much. I mean, you're not going to make it into Las Vegas where people are going to want to come here year round. I mean, the weather's not. No,
but they can make it similar to a Mohegan or Foxwoods where people can stay there.
That's what I'm saying. Is trying to do more than one or two in the state of Massachusetts is a joke.
But they should try one first to see, to set up a system and see how that works. And George mentioned they want to have it as their resort casino type. So they want to have all the amenities. They want to have the fine dining, the shows, the boxing matches, and people can stay at the nice hotels and whatnot there.
Now, I know here in Methuen, the Holy Family just got approved to go from tax exempt down to paying taxes now. And I think the city gains $1.1 million a year in taxes. Should that money be going back to the people, or should it be used to renovate the high school where they just got $64 million for a check provided to them by Tim Cahill? Should that money be going back to the high school, or should it go back to the people, maybe put into like an escrow account where it can collect interest for the people? And maybe someday Methuen could be, like Las Vegas, no property tax. I mean, everything pays for itself. You keep it in an escrow account, rolling interest, time after time. What do you think about that?
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the money. I mean, I think it would be great if they did, give it back to the people. I mean, what are you going to put in an escrow account? I can go, okay, I want to get my share. Go to the bank and cash it out. But, it's going to be used, hopefully it'll be used wisely. Hopefully between the mayor and the city council, they'll find the proper way to use that money.
But, you say should they give it to should they put some towards the high school or give it back to the people? I think if they put some towards the high school, that is giving back to the people, because the high school needs to be renovated, needs to be fixed. I mean, personally, I would have loved to have seen them just sweep the high school down and build a brand new one. I mean, all these other communities get the Taj Mahal over there in Lawrence, but that's not going to happen. You're not going to be taking more out of the pockets of people in the community when you can get it from the hospital money.
Or if it's in an escrow account, then the city doesn't need to raise taxes and so on, because the money will be
I'm not
there.
saying you take all the money that they take from the hospital, but I mean, if they take a chunk of it or something, use that as part of their payment towards the high school. And then you can do the escrow, like you said, for the other stuff to help try and make sure that the fire, the police, the teachers, they're all taken care of.
You got to remember that when the high school does start getting renovated, that's going to help the city anyway. Like George said, but it's going to help bring in more businesses. It's going to help property value. More people, JJ, are going to want to go there if they have a good school system. And their K through 8 schools right now are top notch. The Marsh, the Tenney, and the Timony. And when the high school is done, it's going to be a quality high school as well, and that's going to help the city in many ways, JJ. Right? Great.
Yeah. Nobody's saying the quality of the education there is flawed, but the building, there's immense complaints about that.
Yeah, it definitely no walls in the school and so on. Orange building, you walk in.
It's been like that since 1975 when the day the doors opened. Yeah.
Wow. Now, locally as well in Methuen, we have the Charter Commission who basically is proposing some changes into the charter. What do you think about the changes that's been proposed for the residents of Methuen in regards to the charter? Do you think it's something that's going to go through?
Maybe you can clarify, like what changes have they actually ready put up for a second read?
I believe that there's a discussion about term limits in there, where right now you can go sit out for 2 years and then come back and jump into a school committee or something like that. Mm-hmm. Should it be where you serve your 3 terms and you get out, you move on, you go to higher office versus staying within local politics, or should you just give someone else an opportunity to?
Well, I mean, we've had this talk before. I mean, I'm not sure how these two feel, but I think term limits are at the ballot box. I've had this discussion with you. I had it with a bunch of people, and they all think I'm crazy. But I think that is the ultimate term limit, is at the ballot box. You're in for 6 years, and then you have to sit out 2. It's a joke. They all hop around anyways. And the funniest thing is that people who say they believe in term limits are some of the biggest violators of taking the 2 years off and then coming back again anyways. At least I'm being honest and upfront and saying I don't believe in term limits. So, I mean, so as far as that's concerned, I wouldn't care if they got rid of term limits.
I think before we even get to that point, we got to worry about the Charter Commission itself in general. Right now, it's in turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you saw that last meeting, it was embarrassing for the city of Methuen. It was embarrassing for the city of Methuen the way that and anyone can go on the city website and watch it. It's like 22 minutes long. I can go on Politically Active's Facebook and watch it. And it was embarrassment to the city. So I don't even think we can talk about right now what the Charter Commission is going to put forward, because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know if anything's going to happen.
At a standstill.
Yeah, it's similar to, you know, there's two factions right now for the Charter Commission. You know.
So you have, in the Charter Commission, you have some elected officials that are part of the city council as well. Should that be eliminated? That should be allowed. That should not be allowed. I mean,
but I don't know what the laws are. I'm sure the laws allow that, but I think if there was a way around it, they should have had the Charter Commission be developed where no one in office could be part of the Charter Commission. Not new faces.
I think when they set this up, you know, I personally, first off, I think it's great to check to go over your city charter every certain number of years. But at the same time, I think when this was set up and they had the election for this commission, there should have been a rule in there that if you're in elected office already or you're running for another seat, you can't run for the Charter Commission.
Right. I honestly believe that if you're already a city councilor, you shouldn't be running for Charter Commission anyways, or any other elected position. But that is my opinion in regards to that issue.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
JJ, you see a lot of the Charter. If you go to some of the meetings,
Yes.
what's your take on the Charter Commission?
Well, I mean, like what George was just saying, if the people didn't want a city councilor or, you know, a school committee member on the Charter Commission, they wouldn't have voted for him. Yeah. So just, you know, the people put them in there. But it's interesting to note that the two top vote getters for the Charter Commission were Dennis DeZoglio, former mayor who is not currently in any other elected office, and Joe Pappalardo, a former city councilor who is not currently in any other elected office. So they were the two most popular people to run for the Charter Commission. But yeah, I mean, you did have some people, some serious name recognition that obviously people wanted them in there. But yeah, they do have something to gain or lose. They're not impartial when they're making these decisions.
Right. And is that the problem? People do vote with name recognition for the most part. I mean, you have to be known to the community.
It helps. It definitely helps. You know, I mean, someone that's been out and about, someone that's already been in city council, already been the mayor, obviously has better name recognition than someone who might have just moved to Methuen a few years ago, hasn't been that active, but wants to take the first step in being active within the city, and that's the first step they choose. The person that's already been in office, been the mayor, or been in Methuen for 40 years, they've got the advantage, obviously.
So if, let's say, in my election in the state rep seat, there were 4 candidates, the incumbent, and then you had 3 other, you had Al Denuncio, Phil Leahy, and myself. Having 4 people run in a race, and we know that that helps the incumbent, what benefit is there for any other constituents to come in and try to take on the incumbents if, you know, you don't have the name recognition, you don't have the financial backing? What's the incentive to run then?
Well, I mean, I think you just said it. There were 4 people running. So there's 3 running against the incumbent. And obviously it's going to favor the incumbent because those 3 people are going to vote, they're going to split the vote of those who don't want the incumbent in. So I don't think you should look at it as, you know, how is any independent going to win? I mean, it's basically on the other 3 people that ran against the one person. You know, maybe there should have been discussion to say, you know, 2 of us drop out, you're the best candidate to go get head to head. You know, it's going to happen when there's 4 people. I'm not saying you shouldn't have run. I'm just saying that's the reality of it.
Right.
That being said, though, in your race, Hector, if you add up the votes from the 3 people that didn't win, tally those, they still would have lost to Linda Dean Campbell.
Right.
So there is an effect, but I mean, in your case, it wouldn't have switched the result of the race.
And our current rep has done some good things for the city of Methuen. I mean, she's been active in the community. She was 6 years in the city council. She got name recognition here, and then, you know, now she's serving her 3rd term.
What I would recommend, if someone who's considering running for offices, especially if you want to run, say, next year for city council or the year after for state representative, now's the time to start getting your name out there. Now's the time to be active. You know, go to the meetings, voice your opinion, things like that.
Right to the editor
Start
of
a radio
the
show.
Tribune. Now, speaking of radio shows, you guys have politically active broadcast media now on radio as well.
Politically media.
Yeah, and that airs Tuesday mornings at
10 to 12.
10 to 12. Tell us some of the guests that you guys have had on your show.
JJ Huggins. we've had JJ on. We've had all the candidates except for Jill Stein, all the candidates for governor, the lieutenant governor candidates, all the congressional candidates in the area, Nikki Songus, John Golnick, Bill Hudak, trying to think of Jameson Tomasek. Plus, we had a debate there with the candidates for treasurer, Karen Polito and Steve Grossman, and the list, and all of the local politicians as well. You know, I believe all the city councilors have been on at least once. Is that? Have we missed anybody?
I believe they've all been on at least once. Yep.
Yeah. Mayor Manzi's a regular contributor, very well liked guy.
Very well liked and a lot of respect.
My hero.
Your hero. Well, we have 2 minutes left, and basically, I just want to touch up on one subject here, which is the grants that we have coming up to the City Council this Monday, involving $744,000. Right now, we're going to get 4 police officers free for 3 years. After the 4th year, we don't know who will be responsible to pay for this. Should the city councils approve that particular budget, that grant, and allow these 4 officers to keep their jobs? Or is it going to cost taxpayers, or the taxpayers of Bethune, their taxes are going to increase because of it, if they do accept it and pass it?
I don't know if JJ knows. I'm not sure if those people end up getting laid off. Is the city in for the money? Does the city have to pay that grant money back? Do you know?
City is, as far as I know, the city is responsible for paying the salary, I believe, for 1 year after that. I believe that.
Yeah.
So it's 3 years that the feds pay for it, and then on the 4th year, the city has to pay their salaries.
So if there's layoffs, I know Phil Leahy said that grants have, you know, stipulations that you have to go by. So if in 3 years we have to do layoffs, then the taxpayers of Methuen will be on the hook to pay that money back to the government, to the federal government, right? Most
Possibly.
likely.
I think they were looking over the grant documents very closely, and that's why there's even a discussion about this grant. I mean, usually the Washington, D.C. comes and says, oh, we want to give you $740 some odd thousand. Usually it's, thank you very much. There's no discussion about it. The fact that they're even debating this is, yeah, I mean, they want to just dot their I's and cross their T's and make sure that the taxpayers aren't going to be left hanging out to dry on this.
We'll have to see what happens Monday.
We do. Well, we want to thank you guys for coming in, taking time to come in and talk to us about the election. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for watching.